Creating a lamp diffuser mold in OnShape is not that difficult, but there is a fairly involved process because we need to create a number of panels as well as the mold, and we need to prepare the image, and we need to export that for laser cutting. In fact, there are 8 steps in this tutorial, so if you need to stop at any stage, or if you stop and then leave the process for a while, you can always come back by looking for the title slides throughout this video as to where you're up to. Step 1. Create a digital image from your final drawing in your folio. You'll need to scan this in order to get it in electronic format, and then you have to edit your image to get it to 110mm by 110mm. So let's use Adobe Illustrator to do that now. I'm now in Adobe Illustrator, and before I've done that though, I have scanned my folio page and it is somewhere here. There it is there. If I click on that one, I've scanned my folio page with the final image on it. You can see I've got a few annotations there that I need to probably deal with, but that's the image that I'm going to go with in that file there. So I've scanned that. I'm going to create a new file in Adobe Illustrator. The file is going to be a custom file, and it's going to be 110mm by 110mm in size, and I'm going to call this my lamp image, and I'll call it my lamp image version 2 because I think I might already have a version 1. So I'm going to create that and hit create. That's going to give me a file size that is 110 by 110mm. And that will be perfect for the size that I want for my particular document. You can see there that's filling the whole screen. I'm now going to go File, and I'm going to Place, and in File Place I'm going to place in my scanned image, which is in my 10 PDT folder, and it's called Scan T Clark. That's how it came from the printer when I scanned it. And I'm going to hit place, and this will be probably too large when it goes in, so I'm going to have to zoom right out so I can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to zoom out to maybe 25%. There it is there. That's a good place to start, and I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to look for something that says crop image. There it is there, and I'm going to crop this image. I can only do that while it's selected. I'm then going to use these little dotted lines to go as close to the green as I can. As close to the green as I can, so I can still just see the green, but it's there. And I'm going to press enter to accept that change. I'm now going to move that up, and it should roughly be around about the right size. If it's not, you need to resize it, but it should roughly be around about the right size because I made it 110 by 110 in the document. I'm now going to go and say fit on screen, and you can see that it's sitting nicely in there. It's a bit lopsided, but that's fine. That's going to add to the character of my lamp. So that's what I'm working with there. I'm now going to, I don't need to save this. I'll just go, oh actually I will save it. I'll just go File, Save. The next thing I'm going to do, I'll just save on my computer. I'm going to save it in my Year 10 PDT folder. I'm going to call it Lamp Image version 2 and hit Save. I'm now going to press on File and Export, and I'm going to export it as, and I'm going to choose PNG, and see it's called Lamp Image PNG. This is called Lamp Image version 2 PNG, and I'm going to click on Export, and now I'm ready for that particular item to be used in OnShape. Step 2, we're going to create a new OnShape document. Once you've created the new OnShape document, we're going to set it up by importing the image that we created in Adobe Illustrator in as a background image to our sketch so that we can trace around it. I'm now working in OnShape. I've logged in, and I'm going to start by creating a new document. My new document is going to be called Lamp Mold because I'm creating a mold for my lamp and pressing OK. This will eventually create a new document, and I'm going to draw mine in a top-down mode So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import my image. Down here there's a little plus sign. I'm going to click on the plus sign and I'm going to hit on insert, and I'm going to then navigate through to my 10pdt folder, and I'm going to insert the file that I created, which was a PNG file, not that one. I'm going to insert my lamp image version 2, and I'm going to click on open. That's going to now create a lamp image down here, and if you click on it you'll see that it's actually in there, and you can see that it's accepted that in. I can just ignore those arrows on there, just keeping that clear, but we've got our part studio here. I'm now going to create a sketch, and the sketch is going to be, as I said, I'm going to draw it top down, so I'm going to highlight the top plane, so that's the top plane there, and I'm going to press on the top button over here in order to view from top down. I'm then going to choose, this is a little menu over here called Insert DXF or Drawing. I'm actually going to insert an image from underneath that. So that's that little arrow to the right of there, and click on Insert Image. I'm going to click on the image that I imported, and I'm going to draw out a box. And there is my image. The final thing I'm going to do, well actually there's two things I'm going to do. The first thing I'm going to do is center it. So I'm going to use dimensions to center it, but I'm going to set the size of this one here to be at 110 millimeters. So the size of from top side to side, 110 millimeters. So the way you set a size is you use the dimension, you click on one item, you let go, you click on the next item, you let go, and then I'm going to click over here, and half of 110 is 55. So I'm just lining it so that it's in the middle. And I'll also do it, I'm going to click on this one here, the center point as well. I'm going to let go. I'm going to click on this one over here. I'm going to let go. I'm going to move my mouse over to here. And I'm going to click to accept that one. And I'm going to type in 55 millimeters there as well. And that's going to move my item to the center. I'm then going to go up here and I'm going to press rename the sketch. And I'm going to call this my trace element. That will be the element that I use to trace with, and I'm going to press tick. During this tutorial I will use the eye, so if I hover over this there's an eye there. I can turn it off and I can turn it back on again at will. I can also do that to things like the front and the right planes if they annoy me, or even the origin, which is that little dot in the middle. I can turn that off as well. But for the time being, I'm just going to press on the top button here. That's what it's looking like in 3D. In the next section, or the next part, we're going to create it into a 3D shape. Step 3. Trace the outline and make a solid shape, which will be the basis for your mold onto which you can load the details. So now that I've got my thing to trace, I'm going to start by tracing it. Now I'm going to click on the top view here, and I'm going to create a new sketch. I'm just going to trace the outline as the first step, and it's important to get the outline right. And there are a few things we'll learn about the outline. So I'm going to click on it so that I'm highlighting the top, so you can see the orange. The top has gone orange, now it's blue, now it's orange, now it's blue. Click move over it until it's orange and click to accept that. I'm now in sketch mode and I can see my sketch tools. If I try and get rid of this menu here, which seems to be a bit annoying, I will go out of the sketch. If I accidentally do that, I can always double click back into the sketch, restore the sketch, sorry, and click back into the sketch to bring it back. So if I go out of the sketch for some reason by accident, I can always come back in again. Because I've got a circle here, I'm going to use the circle tool in order to draw it. But the center point circle is really tricky to get because I've got to get the middle of the circle and it's really tricky to get. So instead, I'm going to use a 3-point circle, which is going to define a circle by clicking on 3 places, 1, 2, and 3 on my circle. Any 3 points on my circle will actually define that circle point. So that is a good way of doing the circle point there. The next tool I'm going to use, which you're going to most likely want to use for most of yours, is the spline tool. The spline tool is a good tool for drawing curvy lines, and tracing around. So I'm going to start with my mouse on the circle so it turns orange at the intersection point of where that comes in, and I'm going to start, and I'm just going to click around, not click and drag, but click and let go and click around and just trace around that ear. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm touching the line so that it goes orange for the final click. Now it's still letting me draw that, so I'm going to press the escape key in order to turn that off. I've still got the spline key selected, so I'm now going to click around this ear and trace that around, trying to follow it as closely as possible. And I've got that. I'm going to hover over until it's orange, and I'm going to click on that to accept that, and I'm going to press escape to have that collected in. Now your shape should be grayed in. If it's not grayed in, you won't. It might mean that you've done something like this. I'll do an extra shape. This is just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to click around here, and then I'm going to come in really close and not quite get to that line, and then press escape. You can see that that's not grayed in, and those aren't joined. If you need to do that, you need to draw another spline just between here and there, just to make sure it closes. And you see it's not doing it. Now it's done it. So you've got that closing there. But the thing you've got there is you've got that little extra bit in there. You don't want crossovers like that. The way to get rid of that is to use the trim tool or the scissors and just trim that one off. That's gone now. I don't really want that, so I'm going to press undo over here until that goes away. There you go. And I'm going to zoom back out. If you zoom over here and zoom in here, that'll get me back where it is. Where you're zooming is where it's going to do. I don't like having these lines in between here, so I'm going to use the scissors again just to get rid of that line there, that line there, that line there. And because I want to get rid of that little dot there too, I'm going to press escape over here somewhere. I'm going to select that dot and delete it with the delete key. So I've now got my traced outline of my rabbit. I'm going to show you one more thing that you don't want to do with your spline tool in particular. I'll zoom in over here. I'm going to just go around in circles like so. And let's just say I want to try and do something like this. That is not going to work because you've overlapped the spline. And sometimes it will let you do that and sometimes it won't. So you need to be careful of that. So now that I've got that outline, I'm going to now create my 3D shape. I've finished my sketch, so I'm going to press the tick button to finish my sketch. I like to look at my shape from a sort of a 3D perspective when I'm creating an extrusion, and that would be this one here. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click on this item here, and I'm going to actually extrude it by 25, or let's just go 20 millimeters. No, we'll go at 25 millimeters. But I'm also going to click on the draft measure here. I'm going to set this up to 5 degrees, but I'm also going to make sure I click on opposite direction because you can see it's going to slope outwards, and we don't want it sloping outwards because then it will stick in the vacuum form mold. So I'm going to put it so it goes inwards, so you can see now that it's actually inwards sloped. So it's sloping inwards all the way in by 5 degrees. That will make it come out of the mold more nicely. So you want to do that. So it always needs to be in the opposite direction of what it's set up by default, and 5 degrees is a good number to start with. So I'm going to press tick on that, and we've got our mold. It's sloping in, and if we look at it from a range of angles, we'll see that it's looking pretty much like we would expect. You can still see the outline. I can turn that trace element on or off just to see what we're looking at here, and it has that nice organic rough drawn sort of thing. That ear is a bit bigger than that one. That's exactly how I designed it, so we're going quite well. Step 4, add surface details. Now we're going to add the surface details, and the surface details are going to be a sketch on top of our mold. So I'm going to create a sketch. Now I like to do mine in multiple sketches, not just one sketch, because some are going in, some are being inverted, and some are being extruded out. So I think I'm going to put the ears in. So let's do the ears, or the tops of the ears first. You can see I've got a line going around here. I want to follow this line around a bit. So I'm going to use the spline tool, just sort of in here a bit, probably go up a bit, and then in line with that one a little bit like that. And then I'm going to press escape. And the reason why I want to press escape is so I want to get my spline tool to have a sharp line here. And then I'm going to basically trace around and follow this as I have it drawn. And bring it back down to that one there. And press escape. And that is a closed shape. It's hard to see, but if we turn off our part, and we turn off our element, and we turn off everything else, you'll actually see that it's actually a closed shape. But I'm going to turn all those things back on again, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. So spline tool, 3 points for the spline tool to make it at least a little bit curvy, and then pressing escape, because I want that sharp edge in there, and then I'm going to use the spline tool to go around like so, and tick. So that's what I'm going to do for this sketch. So I'm going to press tick on here, and then I'm going to use the extrude tool on this one and on this one. Now if I look at this from 3D, they're coming out. I don't want them to do that. I also don't want them to be out by that far, so I'm going to take them in 5mm. You don't need to do huge amounts, and I'm going to use the word remove, so the selection remove, and now that's just going to go in like so, and I'm going to press on my tick box there, and now I've got my ears indented. Next thing I'm going to do, go back to top, I'm going to add the mouth. So let's add the mouth by doing a sketch. And the sketch is going to be on the surface of the extrude, and it's going to be a spline. I'm going to zoom up, and I'm going to go my way around. I'm not going to start or click anywhere near these lines because it will lock it. So I'm clicking here. See how that comes up, that little icon comes up? I don't want to do that, so I want to move away and not actually lock my lines to anything. Just bring it back around, following that line nicely. Once again, if I move there, it's going to lock there. I don't want to do that. So just avoiding that line. Sometimes it's useful to lock, but at this point in time, I don't really want it to lock. And there's that one there. I'm going to continue my spline on the inside now. So making sure I'm not using any locks or anything like that. Starting out here. Oops, I accidentally used the lock. That's fine. It's not going to change too much. Some of those locks can get annoying. That'll do. So I've got that one round. I'm going to finish off that sketch now. And this time I'm going to bring this one out. Let's just say 5mm. So I'm going to extrude it out. And we'll go out, not 25, that's huge. 5mm there. I'm actually going to make it 6. I'm going to press tick on that. And I sort of like this mouth, but I'm actually going to do something to it before I do too much else. I'm going to put a fillet on it here and here. And I'm going to set the fillet to be, I'm going to play around with this. Sometimes the fillet won't work because the number is too big. I'll show you what I mean. If I go to 6 and press up here on circular, it goes red, which means it's not going to work. 6mm is not going to work. Maybe 3mm is going to work. I just press on circular to get it going. 3mm is going to make it a nice soft rounded fillet. So now I've got a nice soft rounded thing. That's more likely to come out of the mold better with the round, and it's just going to look a little bit more organic as well. I'm going to now do the top sketch for the eyes. Now I could do for the top sketch for the eyes the 3-point circle, but I'm just going to use the spline tool to go around because the eyes are a little bit sort of not totally round. They're a bit more organic. So I'm going to choose to do a bit of a spline there and a bit of a spline here. Okay, and I might just do the eyes as well, like the eye pupils. Oops, see how I locked it there? That's not good. Press Ctrl Z and zoom in to get this better. I missed that one, I stuffed that up, so let's just really quickly go around the eyes again. Sometimes better when you're doing the spline tool to be zoomed in a fair bit on the area that you're doing. So I'm going to do around here and this one here. There we go. And I'm going to basically just do this one as a tick, and I'm going to extrude it. this time I'm going to remember to do my draft. I'll make it 5 degrees again, and I will turn it the other way, like so. And that's going to make sort of a nice effect for the eyes. Press tick on that, and you can see there that I've got a bit of a slope coming out. So that's a nice one, but realize I actually did it 25. I forgot to change the height. That's all right. I can double click on there, and I'm going to make them, let's just go 8, so the eyes stick out a little bit. You don't want to go too huge, and that way they're in nicely. I could also put a bit of a round on them, so I'll put a fillet on this one and this one. 3mm is not going to work on this one. Let's just see if 2mm works. Just click on circular to accept that. 2mm is good, and press tick. So now I've got my shape. I'm pretty happy with that. I could possibly put a round. Let's just put a fillet on here as well. So press the fillet tool, put a fillet on that, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. No, not that one. So just the outside. I'll leave it at 2mm and tick it off, and that just makes it a bit softer, and it means that it's just more likely to work. So there's my shape, there's my lamp face, and that's going to be the mold that I'm going to use in order to create my lamp. Step 5, add your name to the back and also put in some LED holes. Okay, it's now time to add the places on the back where the LEDs are going to go into this lamp. And we do it by putting it into our actual thing. I'm going to turn the trace element off now. I don't need the trace element. So I'm going to look at the bottom, and I'm going to turn it around until it's the right way up. There it is. And this is where I'm going to put a few things. So I'm basically going to put in here one sketch with lots of things in it. So I'm allowed to have 6 LEDs, and the LEDs are 5mm. So I might put one up in this ear. I'm going to press escape here. I'm going to use the center point circle. I do prefer the center point circle. It's just 2 clicks. I'm going to put one over here in this ear. They don't need to be perfectly spaced, but you're trying to make it so that the amount of light you get is fairly even across the whole thing. So I might put one up here, and I might put one here. Now these all have to be equal in size. So let's actually just use the equals thing and click on this one, and then this one, and then click on this one, and then this one, and then click on this one, and then this one, and then click on this one, and then this one, and then click on this one, and then this one. And what I've done is made them all equal. And now I'm going to set the dimension of one of them to be 5mm. That's the size of the LED. Now you've noticed they've all moved, and that's really annoying. So now I'm going to press escape, so I've got nothing selected, so you can see that my cursor has changed to an arrow. I'm going to drag this back up where it was, like so. Just drag these around until I'm happy with the location, so that I get a nice even spread of light. And I can have up to 6. You don't have to have 6, but you can have up to 6. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some text here. And I'm going to draw in a text box around about here, and I'm going to put in my initials, TIC. Open sans is fine. This is not for nobody's going to see this ever. It's just so that I know when I print it whose it is. I press tick on that one, and that's upside down. That's fine. I don't need to have it up the right way. It's just for my name. So I'm going to press tick on that one, and now I'm going to extrude all of these. And I'm not going to extrude them up far. Just this one. Let's just look at this from the bottom view and go, what am I clicking on? That one? Yep. That one? Yep. This one? The name? I said the name. I've lost all those ones. Okay. And now it's collected all of those things now. So I'm selected all of those things, and I'm just going to go remove, and I'm going to remove maybe 5mm and click tick. So now I've got holes in the bottom and my name in the bottom, so that when it prints out, it'll have my name on it, and it'll have holes for the LEDs. So that's ready and raring to go in order to create the name and the LEDs. Let's just look at it from the top. So let's make sure we haven't gone all the way through by accident. We haven't. So let's look at it from that angle. And that is a nice looking, cute LED, although some of the Year 7s thought it was a bit creepy. But let's just see how that goes, and we'll then, in the next section, create some panels. Step 6, you're going to create 2 lamp panels to hold your blown mold, so your vacuum formed mold, in place so that it can actually be used as a lamp inside the frame. So you need to create a back panel to hold the LEDs and the diffuser, and a decorative front panel to hide all of the background things like the roughly cut mold and the LED cables. Okay, so we're now going to create the panels that 1 will hold our lamp in place and 2 will be the decorative panel on the front. So there's 2 panels we need to create. The first one is going on the bottom. So we're going to create a sketch on the bottom right there, and clicking on that bottom surface, we're going to then show the bottom, and we've already got our text there, so we're going to draw a big square or rectangle around the whole thing. Now our what we're going to then do is center it, so we're going to draw a line, but it's going to be a constructions line, so make sure the line is highlighted and then click on construction line, and then we're going to hover over this until we find the midpoint, which will be done by that little box there. So that little box there will appear, and also that icon or that tooltip with the dot in the middle of the line will appear. That's a center point. So now it will lock to that center point, and we're going to come down and do the same thing until we hit that center point there, like so. While we've still got the line attached, we're going to go to our constraints menu and click on midpoint there. We're going to click on the registration point in the middle, and we're going to click on that line that we just drew, the construction line, and that's going to lock this to the center. We're then going to check our dimensions. Dimension for the side is going to be 180 millimeters, and the dimension for the top is also going to be 180 millimeters. So that's going to be our part there, and we're going to click on sketch, and we're going to click on extrude. Now I'm going to extrude this part here, and I'm going to extrude this part here. I'm going to zoom in and click on the insides of my name as well, but I'm going to leave those parts there open so that the LEDs can stick through the back plane. So I've got that happening. The depth is going to be 3 millimeters, and we need to click on new up here. So click on tick like so, and then we look at the top. We should see them in 2 different colors. If you have done something wrong, so they're the same color, if I double click on the extrude and click on add and then click tick, you'll see that they're the same color. That's wrong. Just double click on the extrude, change it back to new, and click tick, and now they're different colors. We're now going to do the decorative panel. To do the decorative panel, well, first of all, we're going to create an offset plane. So I'm going to click on the plane button here. It should be offset, and it's going to be offset the top of that panel that we just did by 20 millimeters. And I'm going to press on tick. So I'm going to click on that plane to highlight it so it's all selected. I'm going to create another sketch. Let's view it from the top now. And in this sketch, I'm just going to project. So I'm going to project that line there onto this new sketch, this line here onto this new sketch, that line there onto the new sketch, just the lines, not the whole face, that line there. And I'm also going to carefully select the outline of my creature, like so, all the way around, and I'm going to press on tick. So now I'm going to create an extrude, and it's going to be this surface here. I'm going to look at it like this. I'm going to make it 3 millimeters the other way. So I'll change that arrow to opposite direction. and pressed on tick. So now I have 3 parts, part 1, part 2 and part 3. Once again, if you don't have 3 parts, it means you've done something wrong and you've added them together. So you need to fix that by double clicking back into the extrude and choosing new, not add. So I'm going to rename this part. This part is my mold. I'm going to rename this part. This is the back panel, which will hold the LEDs. And this right click here is the front panel. And the front panel is the decorative panel. So there we have the 2 panels ready and raring to go. So it should look something like that. Definitely should have 3 parts. They should definitely all be different colors, and that is that step done. In step 7, we're going to export all items. So we're going to export one lamp mold as an STL file for 3D printing, and we're going to export 2 panels for laser cutting. They will come out as DXF files. It's now time to export all of the items that we need. So we need 3 things. The first thing I'm going to do is export the mold. The mold gets exported, right click and export on the actual object, and that is going to be an STL. I'm basically going to call it my mold, but I'm going to call it TIC underscore mold, and you should use your initials underscore mold as the file name. It's going to be format STL. It's going to be binary. It needs to be millimeters. That might be meters, so you might need to change it to millimeters. Resolution medium, and options is download. I'm going to hit OK, and that will eventually go to downloads. So there it is there. Mine will have a different icon to yours because I have a special app for opening that STL, but that is what we'll be doing. We'll be opening that STL in a special app to 3D print it, but you don't have to worry about that. But that is in your downloads. That will need to be submitted as per your teacher's instructions. The next 2 things we need to do, so I'm going to turn that one off now that it's done, is we're going to need to export the panels. The panels will be done by right clicking on the panel. So I'm going to do the decorative panel first. I'm going to click on it, so it's not going to be selected like that. So I'm going to click away from here if that happens. I'm going to right click on there, and I'm going to go export as DXF/DWG. I'm going to then choose DXF as my format, not DFG, and I'm just going to call that TIC underscore front panel, like so. So you should have that naming convention there, your initials underscore front panel, and I'm going to export that. And that will also go to my downloads. There it is. I'm then going to turn that front panel off so that I know that I've done it. And I'm going to right click on this one here and export as DXF. Once again, call it TIC underscore back panel. Get rid of all the spaces. And that's what it's going to be called as well. So I'm going to export that. And those 3 files now appear in my downloads folder, and I'll be using 2 of those in the next step before I submit them, but I can submit that one for 3D printing via the process described by your teacher. But this one here and this one here need an extra step in Adobe Illustrator to be able to be used on our laser cutter. Our final step for creating our lamp diffuser mold is to create or prepare the panels for laser cutting in Adobe Illustrator. In this, we will actually add things, extra details like etch lines in order to give detail and name and that sort of thing on our file, and that way we can send it to the laser cutter, and the laser cutter will cut and etch according to what we set up in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm now in Adobe Illustrator, and I'm going to start by creating a new file. So I'm going to go File, New, and I'm going to create a file for my panel, and my custom size is going to be 200 millimeters by 200 millimeters. And I'm going to hit Create. The thing I'm going to put on there is 180 millimeters by 180 millimeters, so it should fit with a bit of space around it. So now I'm going to go File, and I'm going to go Place. And when I choose the front panel this time around, I'm going to show import options, so make sure that is ticked, and hit Place. This menu will come up, and I'm going to choose Scale by 100%, and scale should be 1 = millimeters. That's really important that you get that, not anything else, millimeters, and press on OK. So I'm going to put this somewhere in the top corner, and that's going to fit nicely on the page. This is going to be the board that gets cut out. You'll notice that it is sideways. So that is the item that's going to be cut out. And I'm also going to have an item that is going to be my name, which will be etched. And this will be the back side that I'm cutting, showing up. So I'm going to basically put in some text, and I'm going to type it in over here. And I'm going to put my name, and I'm going to put my class, like so. And I'm just going to move it nicely over to the side because it's out of the way. And that's going to be my text. I'm going to, when I'm happy with my text and where it is, this is the only etching I'm going to be doing. I'm going to go to Type, and I'm going to go Create Outlines. That is now an outlined text, and I'm going to set it to be red just so that it's obviously like so. And that is ready to go as far as etching is concerned. I'm now going to select this item again, and I'm going to select the line size to be 0.04 mm for 0.04 millimeters. And now that is going to etch. So that's going to cut, that's going to etch, and that file is now ready. I'm going to go File and Save As. I'm going to save that on my own computer, and I'm going to save that in my 10pdt folder, and it is going to be called TIC_front panel. I'm then going to submit that according to the instructions that my teacher gave me for that particular item, and that will be done on the laser cutter. It may be that your teacher will require you to cut it yourself. It may be that you get to put it in a queue and it gets cut all together with a bunch of others. So I'm going to hit save on that, and that will be submitted, pressing OK according to the teacher. We're then going to do the same thing again. We're going to go File, New. This time we're going to give the item a name here. It's going to be TIC_back panel. That's 200 millimeters by 200 millimeters. Make sure it is millimeters, and click on Create. I'm then going to go File, and I'm going to go Place. This time I'm going to place the front panel, which will be in Downloads. The back panel, sorry, there it is there. I'm going to place it somewhere in the top corner, making sure that scale is 100% and scale 1 = 1 unit = millimeters. Clicking on OK, and we're going to basically play it there. I might just drag that more into the middle. There it is there. And once again, I'm going to put my name on it, and it's just going to be Tim Clark, and my class 10pdt is what class I'm currently doing. So that's what I'm going to do. Because I'm not really going to see this, I might even make the font a bit bigger and move it down the bottom still. There it is there. And I'm going to go to Type, and I'm going to go Create Outlines. And I just like to change my outlines to red so that my text is different. Click on this path once again and change this to 0.04 millimeters. And press OK. That is now ready to save. So I'm going to go File, Save, and that particular one there, saving on my computer in the same location. So 10pdt, and it's TIC back panel, and hit Save. And okay, those files there are now ready to submit, and your project is ready to go to either the 3D printer or the laser cutter. And as I said, the laser cutter you might be doing yourself, so you might need to get a USB and move it across to the laser cutter and cut it yourself, or you may be putting it into a batch with other people, so you need to ask for instructions on that one. And your STL file, which is the mold, which needs to be 3D printed, also needs to be submitted as per your teacher instructions.